Welcome to Radio Finance. This is Grace Chung, your host. Our topic for today is who will be the winners in Southeast Asia's quest for digital banking licenses and how COVID-19 will change the equation. We want to explore what it takes to win in this new digital and post-COVID-19 landscape.
We are pleased to have guests who will give a diverse range of perspectives today. First of all, Greg Krasnov is the founder and CEO of Tonic, which is reputedly the first digital-only bank in Southeast Asia. In the past year, it was licensed by the Bangko Sentral to operate a digital-only bank in the Philippines. Tonic is looking to serve the estimated $140 billion retail deposit and $100 billion retail lending market there. Next, we have Sugama Munisamy, who is the Senior IT Business Architect at AmBank and manages the digital delivery for the bank. With total assets of over $31 billion, AmBank ranks 6th among the domestic banks in Malaysia. It intends to bid for one of the new digital banking licenses. And finally, Hadi Wijaya advises financial services companies on their digital transformation journey. He is responsible for SAP's go-to-market strategies, value proposition development, customer co-innovation, and digital thought leadership in Southeast Asia.
We have seen a wave of digital banking licensing framework across Asia. Central banks and financial services regulators. So if Australia, Hong Kong, Korea, and Taiwan, they were the early movers. And then Singapore and Malaysia jumped in and they are rolling out or about to roll out. And coming up is Thailand and the Philippines. So there's a clear direction to embrace digital. And now the regulators are also coming on board. Then amongst all of this, we have the current COVID-19 environment. Hadi, I'd like to start first with you. What are the trends do you see and how will they impact the industry?
We are perhaps at the most disruptive time in the banking history. The industry is at the nexus of several major forces, where fintech for the last 10, 12 years has been shaping the landscape, where the customers are now more willing to engage with banks that provides unique experience, right? Now with COVID-19, we are entering the contactless economy. So COVID-19, I think, is inducing more actions for the banks to accelerate digital transformation. I see a few trends emerging. Number one is experiential banking. Customer experience is becoming the new battleground, key differentiator for banks. And customer experience is becoming more important than the products. Number two is about digital ecosystem. So to create that customer experience, a bank may need to augment its offering. Bank need to recognize that the banks need to embed banking into customer daily lives around the needs. And finally, this is a region where half of them is under 30. More than half of them do not yet have bank account. And from B2B perspectives, around 2/3 of the micro companies and do not yet have good access to loans and credit. So combined with the high mobility, high mobile connectivity and internet penetration, I think this region makes a promising place for digital banking.
Greg, would you like to briefly pick on one of this trend and give us your thoughts?
We're already seeing a major shift in the payment trends and retail service trends. For example, in the Philippines, certain banks have been reporting that their digital payment services have tripled to quadrupled since the lockdowns began. And I think this is going to be a secular trend. Another thing is the delivery channels for retail bank services in particular are going to get increasingly integrated with other digital platforms for delivering other services. And this is something that has been a major trend in China already. but hasn't really gone that big in other parts of Asia or other parts of the world yet. And I think the banks that are not gearing up today to provide that type of integration and who are not operating on a very, very robust API platform are going to have real trouble adapting to that.
So Gu, as the incumbent bank, how does COVID-19 impact you? What is your key priority today?
Banks are now concentrating more how to enable a lot of things that what we do physically to move online, how we can enable the customer to do online. So I feel there's a big transformation happening, and even our Bank Negara, our central banks is coming up with a lot of initiative to enable this, like eKYC or digital onboarding or digital ID to support this transformation.
Greg, with post-COVID, what do you think will happen to fintechs?
And we're continuing to see, very strong interest from financial investors in financial services that are delivered digitally.
Okay.
I think the trend that people have expected before, that the traditional branch-based banks, will go the way of the dinosaur, that's just going to be accelerated by COVID.
Many of our clients are moving very, very quickly to put the well-being of the customers and employees first. For instance, Ping An Bank in China, right? It launched using their ecosystem. They launched a do-it-at-home service for customers to be able to do a basic banking and insurance from the mobile app. Banks like Discovery Banks offers free medical consultation online during these periods. Other banks like National Australia Bank, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, and others are safeguarding their employees with the new work practices.
Great. Anything that you've learned that will be applicable as you start that you haven't foreseen before COVID-19?
Wholesale funding for digital lending right now has basically disappeared. The risks that have come out in the portfolio of digital lenders, none of the people that were lending wholesale to these digital lenders were prepared for those risks. And basically all the digital lenders that are financing with debt facilities from banks or credit funds, they will have trouble renewing these facilities. And without them, they will have trouble growing or even maintaining their portfolios. Wholesale funding hasn't been a sustainable way of funding a retail loan book from the beginning. So that's a reason that we're standing on the retail deposit funding leg as an institution. So we're launching retail deposits as well as retail loans. So I think we will see more people doing more balanced strategies and also looking more at the profitability of their products. I think all of that is going away in a hurry right now. And all the guys that have been growing their customer bases, with effectively negative gross margin after CAC, all these guys will have to think very long and hard. And there's going to be a bunch of digital banks in the world that will not survive this because, they don't understand how to move from current account, which is unmonetizable pretty much, to lending and deposits. And a bunch of people are not going to make, that cut. So I think we're going to see a reshuffle as well. But I think that's for the better.
Malaysia, especially,
Yes.
the government has given a lot of loan relief for the next 6 months for our auto finance or for our housing loan. So banks need to be ready to offer this kind of online investment for the customer for them to maximize the usage of the money.
I'd like to ask Hadi, now, how can you leverage on that experience of providing ERP solutions for businesses to make the transition to helping banks to help their SME customers and to innovate during this time?
Now, this gives us a comprehensive portfolio, not only to address the SME and micro companies, but also at the retail side of the business, right? To address the bank's needs end to end. From the front office to the back office, companies typically come to us for a change of technology. But what we observe, what separates successful initiative from failed one often has nothing to do with technology. It is the shortcoming of cultures or organization cultures. The silo mindset is the biggest roadblock to the real transformation. And secondly, right, banking is in the regulated industry, and banking has undergone several changes, more changes to come. So if your digital bank is not ready to endure the changing regulation and license requirements, it will be challenging to operate in the long term.
This movement of the banking services into the digital space, which, as I was saying, it's going to accelerate now because of COVID. I think it'll fundamentally change the competitive differentiation. If you think of the 6Ps, banks have historically been, competing on price, on promotion, but they haven't really been competing that much on process. A bank that doesn't have to run a network of branches can offer a much higher interest rate on deposit. A bank that originates purely online and uses customers' digital footprint to underwrite is able to run its loan portfolio with a very different cost structure, both on the origination and on the cost of risk. Most of the banks in the region, for example, they don't know how to underwrite loans to non-banked customers because they have no idea how to work with a digital footprint and a vague idea of how to work with predictive analytics. There's basically a few things that customers look for when they're looking to make deposits in banks. The number one thing, of course, is trustworthiness. And that's a matter of branding, and some people think that's a matter of physical infrastructure, but it's not. Deposit rates is typically the number two things that people care about, and here the digital contender can offer a much more aggressive proposition typically than an incumbent. So this is something that you can definitely compete on. And finally, the customer experience. Banks are really have proven themselves incapable of innovating on the customer experience, on using the digital medium, because a bank is very unused to the concept of asking the customer, "Dear customer, what do you need?" and then trying to define a product experience around that. So I think those are the competitive characteristics that we're planning to win.
And we should go more to the partnership and working together. The small banks which is suffering should join all the operations together to have some kind of shared services to reduce the cost. We should start working with fintechs and start see how we can collaborate with each other to support SMEs and the customers.
We have covered so much ground in this session. COVID-19 is unfolding and has already provided some lessons for banks that are going through their digital transformation journey. This time around, banks are not the culprit of this public health crisis, but they are in a very good position to help get the economy and businesses out of it. COVID-19 has accelerated the adoption of digital and contactless transactions, which the industry has just started to embrace. The need and pace for players to transform their organization, digitalize processes, and integrate channels is greater than ever. We can expect regulatory changes to facilitate even greater digitalization around eKYC, cyber, and digital security. Digital banks and fintech lenders face funding and liquidity challenges. Many will fail if they don't quickly build up a strong retail deposit base and compete more successfully on the customer experience, monetizing products such as current accounts, pricing, and processes. So, as COVID-19 continues to unfold, we will continue to track the developments that are happening and how different institutions are dealing with it. But for now, I want to thank Greg, Sugu, and Hardy for joining us today.